Hey, frenemies, this week's podcast is our playoff advice episode. Welcome back, frenemies, episode 98. I'm your host, Chris. To my right, we got the commission, and we got the special guest to my left, the Miami Cowboy himself. Morgan Collins is in studio today. Morgan, say hi to our 12 or 13 listeners.
How are we doing?
He's a fantasy expert in his own right.
Yes,
he wants that to be known that he's just... No, he's a little nervous to be on here, I think, as far as knowing fantasy knowledge, but he's in the playoffs. So
Yep.
I know you said this is fantasy knowledge episode. I'm like, I got on the wrong episode.
Sean, we're at episode 98, man.
I know. We're close, man. I don't know if I should say next week because I don't want to commit to it, but yeah, hopefully next week is episode 100.
Yes.
So hit us up in the comments if you've got some ideas of what you'd like for episode 100.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's jump right into our fantasy reactions to Week 13. And we had a undefeated team lose their first game.
Yes, pop the champagne, Dolphins fans. Dolphins. This is, in memory of Don Shula, I've worn the Don shirt.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a fun little moment. I'm sure Steelers fans didn't appreciate it as the guys in our leagues didn't, but
It's like give it to the Washington football team. I said it right. Yes. Ron Rivera and what they're doing there, it's awesome. But did we expect Pittsburgh to lose to the nameless team for their first loss of the season?
No, I mean, definitely not. I mean, Pittsburgh has struggled. I would argue that they've been close to this a lot of times. I think one of the guys in our league who's a Steelers fan, he said, I've seen, at this point in the season, or I think this was a couple weeks ago, he said, I've seen 7-2 teams that are better than this 9-0 team.
Dang.
So they know, and honestly, it's probably better for the Steelers. Get that monkey off your back, get the pressure off going into the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about someone that was balling on Monday night, Josh Allen. He was nearly perfect. He had 8 incomplete passes?
Finally came back.
Oof. Right, just in time, right?
Well, just in time, but...
tough schedule coming around for the playoffs.
Yeah, that's kind of where I want to bring it to.
Yeah.
For fantasy players out there who are in the playoffs and are going to need to play Josh Allen, what's your take on Steelers matchup? Because Steelers have been shut down. Now, Alex Smith kind of got through there, but...
So, Bud Dupree tearing his ACL for Pittsburgh is a lot of difference.
Yeah.
For that rush that would affect Josh Allen in the game.
I think Hayden also had a concussion.
Yeah, so they're banged up on that defensive side. And, I mean, it's a good Pittsburgh defense, but now you only have to worry about T.J. Watt. And before, it was 2 guys coming off the edge, hurting quarterbacks all the time. I'm going to throw it over here to Morgan. If you had Josh Allen this week going in the playoffs, do you trust him and keep him there, or are you nervous starting him against Pittsburgh?
I would trust him.
Yeah, I think, at least for me, unless you have a crazy other option, like say you had Justin Herbert, that's one I might go away from. He's playing Atlanta, what's been the worst pass defense in the NFL.
Yeah.
But besides that, you got to roll with the guy. I mean, he got you here. He's going to run. I mean, the rushing baseline will save him even if he doesn't have a blow-up week.
And shout out to a friend of the podcast, Jake Seeley. I heard him yesterday on his podcast talking about these QBs who might be struggling, like a Kyler Murray, your boy, an Arizona Cardinal.
It's true.
It's like you guys who have those guys rostered probably don't have a really high QB2 to turn to because you put so much to those guys. So you would have to keep playing them unless you made a trade to give them away to get another QB for a playoff run.
Yep.
All right. Well, this guy killed my playoff chances. His name is Darren Waller.
Yeah.
This tight end finished as the top scorer in fantasy. We all know Darren Waller over in almost said Oakland, in Las Vegas. In our local league, the 3 of us, I had to win to get into a playoff, right? And get a half win as well with it. We do a different scoring. But the guy I played is second to last in the league.
Yep.
And he had Darren
His team
Waller.
went off.
Just by himself when I knew I couldn't win. For almost
Fantasy
nearly 40
takeaway.
points.
Play Darren Waller every week.
I know. So, yeah, it's kind of
Another
cool.
guy actually you faced here. It's funny to look down at the notes, but next up is David Montgomery.
Montgomery was on that same squad.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I paid attention. But David Montgomery being an RB1 in most, half-point PPR leagues, So I want to ask you this because you have been up and down with him a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to try to, I mean, I guess you took my thunder there and kind of made me not feel as good. But I feel like I've pushed David Montgomery over the last few weeks here. Like for the playoff push, he was a guy that I've mentioned. If you can get him, he doesn't have, that high upside that we thought, but his schedule was so good. And maybe he does have that upside. He looked good. He's had a terrible offensive line, a terrible quarterback. That may just be what's happened to David Montgomery. So I think, rolling forward here, he's all systems go. He needs to get into your lineup. He's got some great matchups, and he looks good.
Yeah, I was about to throw you like, would you start so and so or David Montgomery? But Montgomery's starting in every lineup.
Yeah, I don't think there's a situation you're looking at where you're gonna have two options that are better, where you can't get him into your flex.
Yeah. So yeah, I actually did not know that both those guys were on the roster. That beat me.
Yep.
Out of that playoff spot. But anyways. Party question.
Would you like to go to a party in my pants?
No,
Brick. All right.
So the party cue for the week, we are going to ask some rapid fire questions to the Miami Cowboy to my left here, Morgan. So Morgan, we're going to ask you probably 6 or 7 questions. And I want you to try to answer as quick as possible. First thing comes up in your head, all right?
Well, I'm ready.
It's going to be off the wall.
Yeah.
So
let's do it.
Yeah, he should be good at this, right? We call him the clubbing guy. He was kind of the ladies' man of our league.
So you think on your feet all the time.
He's found himself a lady that's somewhat settling him down. So congrats on that.
Thank you very much.
But we want to ask you some questions here. So I'll let Chris start it in his announcer voice.
My announcer voice. All right, so here we go. Question number 1. What's the best song to line dance to?
Flatliner.
Ooh, Flatliner.
Hold on. Who's it by? Who is it?
Now it's rapid fire. Let's go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Who's your celebrity crush?
Man or woman? Ryan Reynolds is a really good one.
All right, we'll take it.
And woman.
And woman? Hold on.
How do you have Ryan Reynolds?
It's the girl from Star Trek. Whatever her name is.
Zoe Saldana? I don't know.
Yeah.
She's great.
All right. Burger or pizza?
Burger.
What was your highest scoring game in high school basketball?
Oh, man.
My points?
Yeah, your points.
Oh, like 2 or 4? More of a defensive player.
You played on a 2-time state champion basketball team here.
Yeah.
All right. Worst movie you've ever seen?
Worst you've ever seen? The Happening. The movie was awful.
All right. These 2 are yours.
I was going to say, I'll take the last 2 here. How I Met Your Mother or The Office?
Oh, my gosh.
Friendships are on the line.
Office right now because it's leaving Netflix at the end of this year. It's a terrible mistake. But How I Met Your Mother probably number 1.
Yeah, it's a good cop-out.
Yeah.
Double answer.
There you go.
All right, and now what we really got to know here, Norfolk or Miami?
Oh, my gosh.
For those of you who don't know, he moved from Norfolk to Miami. That's how we all know each other.
Yeah. Well, I'm a scuba diver now, so like that's where my heart and my soul is in the water, I tell people. So I really love Miami. I'm enjoying it. So right now it's Miami. Norfolk has been great. I love Norfolk, actually. I love Arizona,
Maureen.
too.
You can say Miami. The right answer is Miami.
The right answer is Miami.
I live in Norfolk, and the answer is Miami.
No, Miami is the answer. So, yeah, that's the Miami Cowboy. That's why we call him that.
Yeah.
He's Captain Morgan in our league. He's in the playoffs. It's so funny just having this guy in the league and just steadily climbing the rankings.
Yeah,
every year.
He's Ryan likes to call himself man of the people. This is a man of the people. This is a guy that does not sit there and look at every single fantasy podcast he can, like us nerds.
That's true.
But he's getting it done. He's this year. I think he's turned on a couple more podcasts.
Yeah,
checked out a few more rankings.
A lot of luck, but definitely I did watch a little bit. I did a little bit of research. Still a lot of luck.
Now you made the playoffs in our league, so maybe this next segment here is for Morgan, right?
Yeah,
we can speak to Morgan and the people out there. So Chris, what do we get to
all right,
next?
so this next segment it's all about the playoff advice. All right, I'm
sorry those of you that didn't make it.
I didn't make the playoffs.
This is my brag time here.
Ooh,
3 of 3. I'm in 3 leagues. Made it in all 3 leagues.
Yes, I am in 6 leagues and only made it in 4.
Okay, that's
so
not
I missed out on 2.
That's not a bad ratio.
But 2 are real ones I wanted to get into. So 4
one was a miracle.
I'm in 1 league. And I'm in the playoffs in that league.
Yeah. So the 2. One was
100%.
One was
Join the club, Morgan.
Look at that. 1 for 1, 3 for 3, 4 for 6. Okay, we're pretty good around this table. So listen to us as we talk about playoff advice. I'm going to kick it over to you, Sean. This first one's all you.
All right. So what we're going to kind of go through here is just some quick tip pointers. You're in the playoffs. Things are just a little bit different. And this first one is play upside over floor. Usually during the regular season, you want to put those high variance guys in to get the best game out of them. Really, when I'm looking at my lineup, I mean, this is going to depend on your matchup a little bit. If you're the 6 seed playing, a dominant 3 seed or something, then you may need to adjust this strategy. Or I'm sorry, the other way around. If you're the other team, if you're the 3 seed, then you might not want to play as much upside, play it a little safer. But really, in an overall, I'm looking for the guys that can boom on the week because, your typical 100 points is not going to win you a playoff game. So you need the upside.
Need the upside. All right, number 2 here. Matchups are king. All right. When you're looking in playoff time, you don't want to overthink it, but know who your guys are playing up against, especially on fringe players. Your flex especially. Unless you're a star-studded team, you play in an 8-team league, which you shouldn't. All right, you're going to be making decisions in that flex, and maybe the second position for quarterback or wide receiver. So look at those matchups, do the research, know where those defenses rank, and then talking about defenses, those are the ones you want to stream through the playoffs.
Yes,
if you can, because what seemed like a hot pick in week 3 is probably not a hot pick right now going to week 14.
And get ahead of it. I mean, you don't really, that's the NFL motto. Don't look past this matchup in the playoffs. Like there's a 1 week, season, but you got to think about it a little bit. Look forward, see if I win next week, I need to have a defensive option. If I've got an extra roster spot, I'm looking at who's playing the Bengals, who's playing the Jets. Go find those defenses and pick them up before the waiver wire comes. And if you're out of fab, like a lot of people are, then you've gotten ahead of it.
Yeah, you're not, unless you're in a dynasty league, which you can still do it in there, but bottom end guys on your bench, go put 2 defenses on your roster for that reason. And
then number 3 here, this is one of my personal favorites. Blocking your opponents on the waiver wire. So this is kind of what we were just talking about. It carries even further because say you've got RB depth, you don't need to worry about it. And I'm trying to think of a good example here. Madison's hurt, but let's say Zeke goes down. Tony Pollard happens to be out there. You're like, well, Tony Pollard is not as good as the options I have this week. That doesn't matter. If you can pick him up and you have the ability to block someone else in the playoffs, do it because that can win you the week right there. If they're going to be stuck playing someone like a Damian Harris, unfortunately tonight that I may have to play, like they're looking for an option like this, and blocking is important in that regard.
So I totally agree with you on that for guys that are in the playoffs. But what about consolation guys like me? Is there etiquette involved for blocking someone that's actively in the playoffs? It's like that gentleman agreement.
You're asking the wrong person because it's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah.
Like, I have this fab. I feel like I should be able to spend it. It's kind of like your one little thing you can do where you can influence the playoffs. So I honestly think if your league allows it, then do it. Like, if you've saved your fab and you were hoping to be in the playoffs and you're not, put it to use. Say, I don't want anybody to win with this player, and pick them up.
Yeah, and I'm about, like, if you're playing for a playoff position, make that consolation round count so then guys will go on the waiver wire.
Yeah.
Do anything that goes against tanking and do anything that also watch that guy that's, like, trying to help a friend out and drops a stud.
Yep.
All right, after waivers in there. That's not cool.
Speaking of studs, what's our next one here, Chris?
Number 4 here, trust your studs. All right? I was inspired by this because the man to my left is quite studly. So don't overthink. We were talking about matchups earlier.
If you're not on YouTube, by the way, you need to check out this look that the man's got going. If you can't tell, it's a Santa hat on top. That probably helps because
Merry Christmas.
Elf hat.
In the video, I can't tell. I don't think you can tell what it is.
It's a Santa hat. We got it from the
He's got
sponsored
a
by the
bedazzled
Dollar
purse
Tree.
on his head.
Dollar Tree. Like a bedazzled Santa hat.
Anyway, sorry.
All right, so
your studs.
Trust your studs. Guys that got you there in the playoffs, especially if they're your RB1, wide receiver 1, your QB, they stay in your lineup.
It's Josh Allen.
Yeah, even if you don't think the matchup's great, they're stars for a reason.
Perfect example is this week I have Dalvin Cook.
Going against Tampa Bay, I was going to bring that up.
Yep.
Are you doing anything
Look at
with
us,
Dalvin?
samesies. On the same mind.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah.
Are you going to bench Dalvin Cook against Tampa?
No.
No, you got to trust your stud. Yes, it's a tough matchup, but you're looking at opportunity here. He's going to get the touches. He's going to give you the most opportunity to score points.
And players like that, it takes one play. You have a Tyreek Hill, you have a Dalvin Cook. They can make it happen on one play.
Yep. So trust your studs. Put the thought in the lower guys, but your 1 or 2 studs you got in your lineup have to stay in there.
Our last piece of advice here, number 5, this is especially important this year, is you need to have depth on your as far as specifically, I would say for running backs.
Yeah.
They're going to get injured during the playoffs. That still happens. Tony Pollard was kind of our example. But if a guy is out there like that, or if you've just got somebody who's a middling, like last week it was a Frank Gore for me. He's not exciting, but you need that depth because if something happens that next week and your Dalvin Cook goes down and Alexander Madison's on another roster, guess what? You're going to need to play a running back. And if you have that depth, like we talked about already, you may not have the fab to get whatever you need. Prepare for that.
Yeah, like McCaffrey owners. Right now, they don't think he'll play this weekend because of a quad injury that they were quiet about.
Poor
not
McCaffrey owners.
Yeah, don't drop Mike Davis that early. Like, keep him there. Drop something else in there. You got a guy coming off of injury that might not be ready.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other part of this is handcuffs. You need to have your handcuffs in the playoffs. Make sure they're on your roster.
Morgan, you got any advice?
What's your last playoff advice here for the people?
I mean, I like to trust your studs for sure. I'm one of those people, I'm riding the ship with my team, and we're going down, or we're going to ride the wave, whatever. This is my team. We made it this far. Like, we're gonna finish one way or another. So
yeah, you don't want to get cute and bench somebody and then him blow up on your bench just because you thought it was a bad matchup. So
Yep. So I think one more thing, you should understand this already, but your flex spot should not be filled with guys that play early.
this is
All right, like
really important
Thursday
this week.
night. Always keep it open for the weekend.
You don't want to be caught in a COVID situation in your playoffs.
Yep. Don't make that mistake. All right. Anything for the people there, Commish?
I don't think so. I mean, there's going to be a pretty fun 757 podcast next.
Yes,
It'll
there
feature
will.
a little bit more of the Arizonian Morgan. There's some drama that went down, so
Yes,
check
there
it
was.
out.
Sorry, Mike. All righty, guys. Check us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Frenemies FF Pod or Frenemies Fantasy Football Podcast, and we'll see you next week. Deuces.
Give a
Episode
thumbs up.
100.